Hi all, Fabiano Caruana has had a fabulous tournament at Tata Steel. This is his last round game at the Tata Steel Masters against Vladislav Artemiev, and he's playing with the black pieces. Now quite often in the last rounds, a lot of grandmasters just agree draws quite often, especially if they have to travel back home, etc. It's quite a practical thing. So will Caruana, who at this point in the tournament he's already secured first place, will he be playing for a win? Let's see what happened in this game. Knight f3, the Reti opening. Caruana plays d5. We have g3. Now knight d7. Here, with knight d7, perhaps white should consider d4. This is the most common move. White played here c4. This seems to be, to me, a hint of a little bit of tiredness, actually, because gaining tempos on the queen can be very useful and potentially be very dangerous. Black just takes this. After queen a4, a6, black is going to get an important tempo. And this position, it looks as though black's really nearly equalised. Perhaps white should actually play the invasive queen c6 to nudge this rook away from the a file and then return home to c2, because then a4 could be more dangerous later without with some infiltration potential. So this technical move might actually be a way for white to be slightly better still, but the way this has been played is just a queen retreat immediately here, and the rook's actually potentially useful on a8. We have bishop b7, bishop g2, knight g f6, white castles, e6, d3, and already you can see that the queen is a bit scared of any further potential tempo gains, because if d4, then black has c5 without moving the bishop, without trying to castle, just trying to get to that c file rapidly to get another tempo bonus points. So for example like this, and black's already, it looks quite dangerous. If the knight moves, there's bishop takes f2 as an example. Say the knight fictitiously moves, then bishop takes f2. So the queen shouldn't really be there, it seems. So it leads to this more timid move, d3. Black plays bishop e7, a4, c5. We have knight c3, queen b6, a takes, and a pair of rooks come off. Bishop g5, black castles, rook a1, h6, and here white does have a move which would really simplify the game. If he wants a draw, he could play this. There's a move here white could play to really simplify things. Can you spot it if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video? He didn't play that move, but what would be a highly swappy move, swapping off a ton of pieces in this position for white. A highly simplifying move, rather. Knight e5, it leaves the bishop hanging, but look, it's hitting that bishop and it's hitting this knight, and there's like 3 things black can do, but they all just lead to simplification. So this wasn't played. Bishop takes was played. If knight takes, then bishop takes f6, and if here, then rook takes, and it's just simplification, and there's no problem. It should be evil. Evil? It should be not so evil. It should be equal. H takes g5, knight takes, bishop takes. If bishop takes g2, then knight takes, bishop takes. Yeah, if it's just equal. It's just equal. Knight e5. It really looks as though this just equalizes. But what was played was kind of adventurous here. Very adventurous. And giving black an important potential imbalance in the position. This dark square bishop without a counterpart. And you might think, well, can that really be celebrated? Well, as we've seen from games of Leela neural network recently, even really aggressive pawn moves could be justified to try and get more of a grip on the dark squares. We see knight d2, which in theory weakens the white king a bit, losing that fianchetto. Rook c8, queen b3, rook b8, we see knight ce4, the bishop is maintained, king g1. Perhaps white should be careful here about black's tempo gain at f5 and play a move designed against knight e5. White could play knight f3, so black hasn't got knight e5 under any favourable circumstance. So for example, f5 here, this should be perfectly okay for white, but in the game we have king g1, and in fact the fighting spirit is shown of Caruana. He plays actually f5 and now goes into e5, preventing knight f3, well, with a penalty, with a structural penalty. So this is already kind of annoying now. Not only there's this dark square bishop without a counterpart, this central knight, yeah, is dangerous. Without knight f3, how does white put the brakes on this kind of thing to undermine and try and weaken white further? We have h3. Yeah, if we look at knight f3, the structural damage, black could just play bishop f6 and really be happy here. So h3, we have h5. Yes, white goes for knight f3 anyway. So we have the position. Black's really happy in this position. Positioning, look at this. It's a great position. This bishop on the diagonal, the doubled pawns, the backward pawn on d3. We have rook e1, king f7, knight e2, knight e2, as though knight f4, but that's extinguished. Knight f4 is extinguished, g5, and it also brings more aggressive perks to it as well. Black might consider maybe later other moves like g4 and h4. We have g4 being played here though, to stop that in particular. So g4, if king g2, just to give the tone of the position a little bit, you know, queen c6 to pin the pawn, that does actually mean, you know, g4 might actually be on the cards here, and white could be reduced to absolute passivity if not careful. For example, like this, where black's really got a dominating position, white's got a totally miserable position. So we have g4, hg, hg. This is not the sort of wreck pawn structure one would really desire with the white pieces, I would have thought. The only perk going for it is that white is trying to get that e4 square for a knight. If white can perch a knight on e4, sometimes this is going to be more than fine for white potentially. So black does have to be careful. Caruana does undouble white's pawns. Queen d6, and we have knight g3 to try and get to that e4 square. But perhaps there might be another route to e4. Knight c3 might actually be better. This route to e4 here, for example, that's mostly harmless, except for that line where black's totally obliterating white. But if we have a look at this again, here, okay, this position via this route offers not just knight e4 but this pawn, and white could play queen takes b5, and in this case this check is actually not so devastating. This position technically is fine. Okay, so there are ways of going to e4, also implying other things en route, basically, and those other options could be used instead. So that's interesting. It's very delicate, but it seems knight g3, in terms of implementation, there are broader benefits of knight c3, you know, for the b5 pawn. Just one note on that again. Okay, so knight c3 here, so not knight e4, there's a disaster, but queen b5. And yeah, we looked at queen h2 check there, and there's nothing much more to say actually. Forget that. So queen d6, we have knight g3. So what's the big deal about knight g3? Why is this such a problem? Well, queen d5 also is possible, because, you know, knight on c3 was actually guarding d5 here, looking at to exchange queens and cutting across that diagonal. We have queen c2. Queen takes d5, as you might imagine, is really miserable for white. This endgame is very, very pleasant indeed for black. White isn't getting that e4 square in a hurry. Black's got a nice edge there. So queen c2, bishop d4. It's like sitting on the white position here. And in fact, okay, queen e2, rook h8 is looking nasty. Again, we have knight e4 finally, queen e5, check, king g7, b3, safeguarding that pawn, rook f8. Here, it turns out that queen h2, well, if we look at queen h2, it doesn't actually do much here. It should be about even. It's not as if white's falling apart. He's got that position which he was dreaming about with the knight. But rook f8, queen e2, queen d5. The problem is emerging here that the knight itself, believe it or not, is a kind of tactical liability, because it could be uprooted like a weed being uprooted. You can imagine pressure on the knight in conjunction with c4 trying to uproot it to be able to take it later. So we have rook f1 and king g6 is played, which holds that g pawn, and now we have c4 trying to uproot like this just immediately without even rook f4. So c4, b takes, king g2 going into a pin, looks bad, bishop a2. But yeah, the idea of unpinning here is now to unpin the knight with f3. But it is at the cost of a pawn, c takes. So yeah, black's actually gaining material now. We have queen a1 hitting the bishop moves to e3, rook d1, queen c4, queen c3. Now, very precise move, not taking the queen, but queen a2 check. If black takes the queen off, this pawn is round-uppable. The king just comes round to e2 and rounds up that pawn, and it's even, this position. So instead, we have queen a2 check, and a really nasty move, queen c2. Oh dear. So the queen can't be taken, and the knight will be dropping off the rook moves. Put that on the board. This looks horrendous. And it is. So after queen c2, yeah, that's horrible. White tries for a perpetual check with queen e5. Black does invite this possibility, nearly. Bishop takes d2, but is it perpetual check? King g7, check, check, check. Is it perpetual check? The king comes over here. And in fact, after the check here, check, check, the king leaves the rook hanging, but white dare not take that. White plays queen b6 check. If queen takes f7, then bishop f4 check, and it's all running with check against the white king there for a moment, for a big moment in fact, until the white king gets mated. So that's not advisable to take on f7. So we have check. The king comes up. It's going to a very adventurous b2 square, it seems, leaving that rook again. But coming to b2 means there can be extra shields in place. Bishop b4 check in particular is with a discovered check. And the end is near now. Yes, the checks are running out. And here, white had to resign. I felt it's the kind of thing that happened to me in over-the-board chess towards the last rounds. Sometimes opponents are energetic. I sometimes get obliterated. And it seems Caruana's full of energy at the end of the tournament. Maybe he's been buzzed up for all these previous victories. But Artemiev played a series of seemingly less optimal moves, or not completely consistent. If you can play that c4, it seems technically to nudge the rook is a little delicacy. A delicate idea to nudge the rook to b8, then go to c2. These little things, though, they added up to a big problem later. White was playing more passively with d3, a little bit passive. But later the opportunity to simplify maybe should have been taken, not give black this dark square bishop without the counterpart, because that really encourages aggressive dark square play. White then was structurally damaged, trying to get a nice knight on e4 to sort of compensate for things. But that knight on e4 was kind of uprooted, culminating in black winning that pawn. And then this daredevil kind of idea, allowing what looks to be near perpetual check scenario, wasn't. And black was just winning after. So a very interesting final fighting game from Caruana. And he won the tournament like extra 2 points against Magnus Carlsen. I think it was 2 points anyway. A big winning score, unbelievable. Tata still masters, unbelievable. 2020. Let me just, I'll check on chessgames.com actually. I know I should have done that before this video. The final score on, there's Gibraltar Masters running as well, but Tata still, 10 out of 13, 7 wins, 6 draws. Magnus Carlsen was 3 wins, 10 draws. So that's an extra 4 wins. That's unbelievable at this level. Caruana has really got a load of victories in this high-level company of players. So maybe he will challenge again for the World Championship at some point, and could be a future World Chess Champion, of course. Can't rule out Caruana. If anyone can, Caruana can. Anyway, no. Yeah, if you want to check out Chess World, there's that bit.ly link, bit.ly Chess World. My new Discord chat, I'm chatting with you guys in Discord chat, Kingscrusher TV Discord chat. If you want to suggest amazing games for me to review. Ideally with some intrinsically interesting quality, not just because they're like the latest games. I did feel compelled to check out these Caruana games though. But I love the combinatory games of Alexander Alekhine at the moment. Yes, games with beautiful combinations and ideas I prefer. You can also check out some of my playlists here. Bit.ly Leela Chess, Bit.ly Magnus Carlsen Chess. There's also Tau Chess, blah blah blah. Anything player chess, surname chess, you might be able to stumble across my playlist. Okay, thanks very much.